Hello everyone and thanks for joining us. This is Amhara Media Corporation, Amhara TV News. I am Gaila Damu. Stay with us. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said that Ethiopians will show to the rest of the world that Ethiopianness stands for being victorious by standing together. We have more. Addressing the Addis WAC discussion forum, Abiy said to understand the war launched by the terrorist TPLF, it is critical to review and observe things from the get-go where the intention to disintegrate Ethiopia began. He further explained that the structural and plundering plans that have come to the open now were plotted earlier to disintegrate Ethiopia, citing that the terrorist group has been working during its rule to sow hatred among Ethiopians so that they would hate one another. He further mentioned that it had been busy destroying the history, value, and identity of the people. The current war in Ethiopia is a war of deceit, the premier noted, adding that incredible lies and propaganda are being spread. Abiy recalled that this same propaganda was used in 1991. The group, which was many kilometers far away from Addis Ababa, managed to enter the capital city without a fight by disseminating propaganda. The terrorist group is repeating the same propaganda to repeat that same story without changing its strategy, the premier stated, underlining that no one will be deceived by the same old trick. Prime Minister Abiy stressed to enemies near and afar that Ethiopia will never disintegrate but overcome the current challenges and rise up. The prominent Ethiopian Tigrayan politician Dr. Aragawi Berhe said some Western countries are working with the criminal TPLF group in order to realize a system favorable for their political and economic advantages in the Horn of Africa. Berhan Workana tells us more.
Tigray Democratic Party chairman Dr. Aragawi Berhe told INA that despite TPLF's numerous human rights abuses and other heinous crimes against the people of Ethiopia during its close to 3 decades of oppressive system in the country, some Western nations have still been sympathizing the group. According to Dr. Aragawi, the stance being witnessed by some of the Western nations towards the terrorist TPLF and the government of Ethiopia is against international laws and the core principles of genuine democracy and the protection of human rights that are promoted by these nations too. He added that the intention is just to create a weak government in the region by using elements like the terrorist TPLF. Aragawi noted that in order to realize this agenda, some international media outlets operating in the West have been used as an instrument. Media in the West, such as the BBC and CNN, have been engaged in propaganda campaign against Ethiopia by disseminating fake news to mislead the international community about the reality in the country and destabilize the nation with a view to supporting TPLF's and their allies' aggression on the people of Ethiopia. Aragawi added that attempts being made by the West to bring the terrorist TPLF to political power in Ethiopia is futile, as the whole nation is against the group for its 3 decades of atrocities. He said these members of the international community are working to dismantle Ethiopia like they did in various parts of the world, including Yemen, Libya and Syria, by providing moral, diplomatic and other support to the group. The prominent Western nations have never tried to condemn the group for its number of atrocities in the country. They had given deaf ear to the Maikadra, Galikoma, China massacres and the attacks on the National Defense Force Northern Command, and yet they are busy by plagiarizing and tarnishing the image of the government of Ethiopia based on fabricated information. He called on these Western nations to work with a democratically elected government of Ethiopia in order to avert the ongoing agony of the people in Tigray and other parts of Ethiopia caused by the belligerent acts of the TPLF. The Tigrayan prominent politician Dr. Aragawi further urged the international community to stand by the government of Ethiopia, which has immense popular support for the national cause to defend the sovereignty of the country.
According to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, some international media outlets are spreading false information and carrying out misleading campaign about the current situation in Ethiopia. Bugardi Zaudu reports.
Briefing the media yesterday, Foreign Affairs spokesperson Dina Mufti said some Western media have intensified propaganda against Ethiopia over the past few weeks in an attempt to enhance their hidden agenda of destabilizing the country.
There are a lot of fake propagandas, there are a lot of misinformations and disinformations by some major media outlets about the encirclement of the city of Addis by the TPLF junta, which is not true. There is disinformation also about Ethiopia-Kenya border being closed, which is not true. There is disinformation about genocide and ethnic profiling in the capital, which is not true. And all this used to be futile exercise to threaten, to frighten and demoralize Ethiopians who rose up against the junta forces in defense of the territorial integrity and the independence of the country.
Speaking on the diplomatic shuttle by the African Union High Representative for the Horn of Africa, Olusegun Obasanjo, he said, "As we know very well, the interest of the Ethiopian government is to overcome difficulties and hurdles through peace."
President Obasanjo is on the fact-finding missions, and they have been to Addis, they have been to Washington, they have been here also, they have been consulting with the officials of the African Union. The government, actually, we are always in favor of giving African solutions to the African problems. And this is an African problem, and the African solution is a proper solution.
The spokesperson also recalled that Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Damaga Makonnen held discussion with the U.S. Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa, Jeffrey Feltman. He also pointed out that removing Ethiopia from the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act (AGOA) will affect the livelihood of low-income families, mostly women.
Over the last week, there has been various engagements with various officials, of which engagement with the discussion with Special Envoy of the United States Feltman by the DPM. The DPM appreciated the recent comments of the Special Envoy at the African Institute, Peace Institute in the US, where he alluded to condemn the atrocious acts created or undertaken by the TPLF. The DPM reminded the Special Envoy the appreciation of Ethiopia for the concerns by the US about the situation in the country, though he expressed his misgivings about lifting, about some suspension of the AGOA, which hurts Ethiopian ordinary people.
Similarly, Damaga had a meeting with United Nations Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator Martin Griffiths. During the occasion, he briefed Griffiths on the current status of the humanitarian assistance situation in the northern part of the country and relief activities being undertaken by the government. He further recalled the federal government's efforts in providing humanitarian assistance during its presence in the Tigray region despite the destructive actions of TPLF.
According to some residents of Addis Ababa, the state of emergency will enable the government of Ethiopia to ensure public security by curtailing movements of terrorist groups. Abebe Birhane tells us more.
Speaking to Ethiopian news agency, Sime Semene said the declaration of state of emergency is timely and appropriate that would enable the government to ensure public security in the country.
መንግስት ደግሞ ለደህንነታችን ያው ዋስትና አለው ስለዚህ የመጀመሪያው ነገር
The state of emergency was declared with the view to protecting the national security of the country and ensuring public safety. I believe that the decree is crucial in ensuring the well-being of the people.
እኔ ይሄም ለሀገራችንም ለሕዝቡም ደህንነት ጠቃሚ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁ.
The resident noted that though Ethiopians have been aspiring for peace, wishing and begging could not guarantee peace. Peace requires active engagement and participation and collaboration of the people with the government in the effort to realize the decree. Sime noted that everyone has the responsibility to contribute their part for the realization of peace by taking part in the implementation of the state of emergency. Moges Zaude on his part said that the emergency decree will help to apprehend cliques of the terrorist groups TPLF and Sheni, which have been trying to destabilize the country.
አስቸኳይ ጊዜ አዋጁ በትክክለኛ ጊዜ የመጣ ነው ምክንያቱም ሳልኖድ ወደ የገባንበትን ጦርነት ለማሸነፍ
The emergency decree is timely and appropriate as it helps us to come out of the war in victory. This is the war imposed on us and we have to defeat the enemies.
የሚወጉንን ለማሸነፍ ይሄ አዋጅ አግባብነት ያለው ነው.
For Metagas Habtu, the emergency decree has been playing a critical role in aborting the terroristic and destabilizing efforts of the groups. He stressed that the decree will help to repulse the existential threats that the country has been facing through the collaborative attacks of the terrorist groups.
ይህ አስቸኳይ ጊዜ አዋጅ ታወጀ ማለት የጸጥታ አካሎች እንደፈለጉ የመበርበርና እንትን የማድረግ መብትም ስለሚኖራቸው
The emergency decree will help to easily curtail the movements of the terrorist groups and their cliques since it enables the security bodies to track suspects collaborating with terrorist groups and smugglers of firearms.
ቡድኑን ለማገዝ የተዘጋጁ አካሎችን በቀላሉ ለመቆጣጠር ያመቻል.
Amnesty International disclosed that women from the town of Nefas Moja in Ethiopia's Amhara region were raped by fighters from Tigray People's Liberation Front during the group's attack on the town in mid-August 2021. Abebe Brhane has the details.
According to Amnesty International, survivors of rape, robbery and subjections to physical and verbal assaults of TPLF fighters disclosed that the terrorist TPLF has destroyed and looted medical facilities in the town. The TPLF took control of Nefas Maucha town in Amhara's Gaint district for 9 days between 12 and 21 August 2020 as part of an ongoing offensive into parts of Amhara and Afar regions. 16 women from the town told Amnesty International that they were raped by fighters from the TPLF during the group's attack on the town in mid-August 2021. 14 of the 16 women Amnesty International interviewed said they were gang raped. Regional government officials on their part told Amnesty International that more than 70 women reported to authorities that they were raped in Nefas Mauja during the period. Amnesty International Secretary General Agnes Kalamard said the testimonies heard from the survivors describe despicable acts by TPLF fighters that amount to war crimes and potentially crimes against humanity. They defy morality or any iota of humanity. Survivors told Amnesty International that the attack began as soon as the TPLF took control of the town on 12 August 2021. The women all identified the perpetrators as TPLF fighters based on their accents and the ethnic slurs they used against victims, as well as their overt announcements that they were TPLF. A 30-year-old food seller in the town, Gavianish, told Amnesty International that it is not easy to tell what they did to her. She disclosed that 3 of the TPLF members raped her while her children were crying. She said that they did this cruelty in front of her children. According to her, the fighters did whatever they wanted and left and also assaulted me physically and took local food items. She stated that they also slapped and kicked her. Amnesty International further recounted that Hamelmal, a 28 years old woman, sells injera in the town. She explained that 4 TPLF fighters raped her during the night of 13 August at her home while her daughter watched. She has children of 10 and 2 years old and she was scared that they might kill her daughters. The report depicted that she has been begging them to leave her children and let them do whatever they want from her. She narrated that the older daughter saw what happened. Bemnet, a 45-year-old Nafas Mouja resident, told Amnesty International that 4 TPLF fighters came to her house on the evening of 14 August and demanded her to make them coffee before 3 of them gang raped her. Bemnet narrated that she suspected their intentions and sent away her daughters to stay away from the house and the soldiers ordered her to bring them back. She stated that she refused what they asked. Then they started to insult her. The statement also revealed that one of the soldiers told others not to insult and not to harm her because she could be their mother. Though they left her home, 3 of them stayed back at her home and raped her in turns. Maskaram, the other resident, aged 30, told Amnesty International that 3 TPLF fighters raped her and beat her with the butts of their guns. The lady, who sells kolo, the local cereal-based food, said 4 of the soldiers came to her restaurant and they ate and drank whatever was in the house. Then 2 of them raped her and also took her ring and necklace. Frehewot said she was gang-raped several times by TPLF fighters between 12 and 20 August and that one fighter stole her phone and cash. Tigis said the TPLF fighters who raped her on 12 August also destroyed her shop items and took her jewelry. Amnesty International noted that while 2 of the women have sought basic private medical treatment since the rape, damage and looting to the town's hospital and health station by the TPLF attack has meant that none of the survivors interviewed has been able to access comprehensive post-rape care, including emergency contraception, prophylaxis for HIV and sexual transmitted infections, assessment and treatment of injuries, or focused therapy for mental health care. An NGO that normally provides such service told Amnesty International that it cannot access the area due to security concerns prompted by the government's hostile public statement about international humanitarian organizations. 15 of the 16 rape survivors Amnesty International interviewed described suffering physical and mental health problems as a result of the attacks. They described a variety of symptoms including back pain, bloody urine, difficulty walking, anxiety and depression. Amnesty International Secretary General Agnes Kalamard finally noted that TPLF fighters must immediately stop all human rights abuses and violations of international humanitarian law, including sexual and gender-based violence. The leadership must make clear that such abuses will not be tolerated and remove suspected perpetrators from their ranks. He further stressed that the government must ensure allegations of all sexual violences are promptly, effectively, independently and impartially investigated. They must bring those suspected of criminal responsibility to justice in open, accessible civilian courts in full compliance with international standards for fair trial without recourse to the death penalty and reparations for the survivors. It is to be recalled that the government of Ethiopia has been repeatedly trying to expose the atrocities being committed by the group. These concerns of the government were not, however, given the appropriate attention by the international community.
That's all we have for now. I am Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.